I've actually got two questions that I'm going to stitch together. Pratush says, any possibility of Nick Woltemade joining as a Harry Kane backup? And I'm going to add that to Mike's question on the Substack chat, who said, why
Mm.
isn't anyone talking about Bayern needing a striker? There's no plan B in the squad. Considering how deep Kane gets, a Lookman or a Mora would be a good option to pair or rotate with Kane. I would prefer one of the talented youth players. And I think someone did ask a question about Voldemata. Let me see if I can quickly scan it. Mike asked a bunch of questions about Stuttgart. Is it in here? Yeah, he actually says he asks a question about Stuttgart, but then he says at the bottom, could Bayern come in for Voldemata? So a lot of people want to know if Voldemata is going to Bayern.
So maybe right away, I don't think Amura or Lookman would be good replacements or like backups for Harry Kane. I actually think Lookman would be an interesting signing for Bayern Munich, right? If they can't get Wirtz, but he would be more of a Serge Gnabry replacement, I would say, right? Player who comes a little bit deeper, not a number nine. Now Nick Woltemade, yeah, yeah, it's this is a discussion actually that I had a few months ago of our our Tottenham Hotspur former beat writer Sepp Staffelbro, who is convinced that Nick Woltemade could be a perfect has a lot of the attributes that Harry Kane had at the same age, and there's something to be said to that. I think like Harry Kane, Nick Woltemade likes to play as a number 10, like drops very deep. Um, doesn't have that typical career to start with either. Is quite tall, much taller than Harry Kane. But despite that, maybe a little bit more mobile, better in one-on-one situations. But that I think would be a very logical backup signing. Having said that, um, Nick Woltemade just got called up to the German national team, right? He's going to play the Nations League, and then he's also playing the U21s, I think. And so, with that in mind, um, do you want to sit on the bench behind Harry Kane for 2 years, right? I mean, that you can make an argument that Nick can also play with Harry Kane in that number 10 role. But then that's also where Jamal Musiala likes to hang out. And I guess that also depends on whether Florian Wirtz comes or not. Um, and so I think the backup striker thing at Bayern Munich is a very difficult one because I think a lot of it depends on whether Florian Wirtz arrives or not. Because I think they're hoping that the goals would then come from, if Kane can't play, the goals would then come from Gnabry, Wirtz, and Musiala, right? And so backup striker would be needed. If Wirtz doesn't show up, I think then everything would be very different.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Voltemata, he's had such an impressive breakthrough season at Stuttgart that I'd love for him just to stay there, to be
Yeah,
perfectly honest with
I
you. I'm
agree.
not saying that because I don't want Bayern to do well. I'm saying that because it's really the first full season he's had at senior level. He did very well at youth level, obviously, but it just didn't really work out for him at Werder Bremen. Werder Bremen, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't think that.
And the year before,
Um,
he was at future Bundesliga side SV Elversberg.
yes, that's right. Yeah, and he did okay there actually. His record's actually quite good there. Um, Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, there were reports linking him to Bayern in January, and I think the kind of consensus was that they kind of want to see how well he does this
Mm,
season or this coming season actually, and I can completely understand why because if Bayern were to strike this summer while he's at his ultimate kind of buzz around him, just had a great season with Stuttgart. The internet is awash with kind of highlights reels of this big guy,
mm,
Zlatan Ibrahimovic esque, darting through defenders in the box. Um, he's going to play for Germany, which is obviously going to push up his market value, but also playing for under 21s this summer is going to push up his market value.
mm,
I think Bayern would probably be best suited to saying, look, this guy's going to probably cost us 35, 40 million euros no matter when we sign him. So we're as well waiting until next summer to see if he scores another 15, 20 goals for Stuttgart in this coming season and see what he does. Because, a lot of Bayern fans in the chat here are saying, would he get game time against Harry Kane? And did I remind anyone that Bayern actually did have a very impressive young striker who they spent a lot of money on, who didn't get game time because Harry Kane played, and that was, of course, Matthias Tell. Now, they are different types of players, but they're not remarkably different types of players in the sense that, Tell could play other positions, but just still couldn't get into that team. And I think that's worth bearing in mind. Yes, Voltemade could play as a 10, he could play as a second striker, he can maybe play him off Harry Kane to the left or something like that. He loves to drift out wide, but there are also two or three other players there who are making 15, 16 million euros a year, who expect to play in that left wing position or off Kane, where Jamal Musiala obviously plays as well. So I think I really can't foresee a situation where Bayern do probably sign Voldemade unless Harry Kane were to move on this summer. And they were looking to pick up one or two strikers, and
Yeah.
really kind of rejuvenate that front line. But I just don't think we're going to see that.
Well, Harry Kane just gave a very lengthy interview with the BBC, and it doesn't sound like he's leaving Munich next summer, this summer, next summer, or the summer
I don't think there's a
after.
market for him, Manu.
Well, I
Honestly,
also don't think he wants to leave. He bought a house here. His family loves
yeah,
it.
well,
Yeah, this
yeah.
happens to a lot of foreign players that come to Munich. They're like, "Oh, this place is awesome."
Well, where's he going to go? You can rhyme off
Yeah,
that top.
that
You can
too.
rhyme off the top six clubs in England right now, and just about every single one of them has a striker that you like. Maybe Manchester United, but I mean, why would he leave Bayern to go to Man United at this point in time? So unless he's hankering to get back to England, I'm not so sure.